What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to do a quick review and tutorial on my custom G1 Broadside. So if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I did a review on a figure called Marine Morphers Aircraft Carrier. And the main reason I bought that figure is to do this. I kind of had this in mind. But if you're interested in that figure, I'll put a link at the end of this video so you can go watch that review. That figure is pretty cheap to get. It was about 60 bucks to find it. I could only find it on Chinese websites. It's not really available on US retail sites. But you can find that figure, and then I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of how to customize this. So first off, I needed some other parts. So as you can see, he has customized feet, customized chest plate, customized head. And just to show you, here's the original feet. So they're kind of rounded off, where, you know, Broadside had more like these pointy booster style feet. That same set or kit from eBay came with this G1 style head. I believe it's 3D printed, and then the eyes are painted. But it's actually a whole piece here. It's the entire neck and headpiece. And then this piece here, you'd have to produce yourself, but you could make this out of styrene. Basically, you know, just cut out a piece and then cut out an oval shape and then glue it together. And then conveniently, there are two peg holes here on the opposite side of this chest piece. So you can just put some pegs on there and make it plug in. And that's how that chest piece works. But that's the only piece where you can't really just go off and buy it. You'd have to make it. But everything else I was able to purchase. The figure, the feet and headset, and the paint. So let's talk about the paint. So first off, there's a lot of parts that were removed from this. So let me put up an image of the original figure. Here's what it looks like. And you can see there's a lot of junk on the trunk and a lot of kibble on the backpack. So you can see I basically removed all of that kibble. Everything's gone. So here it is. You know, here's the parts I removed. This is basically two pieces. It did have this cool little thing of missiles popping out of there, but it's very heavy. It's die cast, so put a lot of weight up top on this figure. Once you remove this figure is much better balanced. So that had to come off. I also removed the hip skirts. I considered keeping them. I actually even painted one just to see what it might look like. But these were plugged in right here on the side. I just thought they were a little obtrusive, and I wasn't planning to have him transform anyway, so I don't need these parts, so I removed those. We also removed some pieces back here, so these are actually part of the transformation, but again, don't need it, so you just remove some kibble. And then same for this. This is kind of the tower for the aircraft carrier. It sits right there in the middle. I removed that as well. And then, of course, here's the old head. So you can kind of see them next to each other. And, you know, pretty big difference here. So those are all the parts we got rid of. And so let me walk you through. First, we disassembled this guy fully into all the parts. It was a pretty easy job for painting just because there's only this gunmetal gray and then this metallic red. You know, those are the colors I chose. And shout out to Adrian S. from Australia who helped me with the colors. You know, I wasn't sure exactly what to get, and that was his recommendation. It worked out great. So then we took it all apart, prepped it for paint. Most of the parts only needed paint on one side. There were a couple of parts that needed paint on both sides. So I had to, you know, let it dry, flip it over, and then paint the other side. So that's a little tricky. There are tricks to doing that, and people have these little clips where you can kind of put them on a stand and you can paint it from all directions. I don't have that. I don't have a paint booth. So let's talk about the paint. So I got these two spray cans. These are from Amazon. They're Tamiya lacquer paint, and they're pretty good quality, the spray can itself as well as the paint. So you don't get as much clumping or anything like that. So you can get some pretty smooth paint. But the key is you really need to spray in layers, right? Put down a layer, let it dry, put down another layer, let it dry. So I was doing between the red and the gunmetal, I was swapping. So I'd paint the gunmetal, set that aside, do the paint, spray the red here, set that aside, come back to the gray, and I just did that. I did cycles so that I had enough time to put coats on it. So this is about 3 coats of paint. You can see it came out pretty well. I didn't do a clear coat on it. If I was doing this again, that's one thing I would change, is I'd do a clear coat. Now the paint looks really good. It's nice and glossy, but a clear coat would have protected it. Now I'm not planning to transform it, so I wasn't too worried about the clear coat protection, but I do plan to, articulate it and mess with it, put it in poses. So the clear coat would definitely protect it for that. Now, I did take the sword. The sword was customized a little bit. I just removed the second half. It looked like this before. It was just too big and bulky, so I just cut it down to half. I probably should have painted this side too, but here's what it looks like. So this is just half the sword, and that does fit in his hand. But there you go. That can fit in his hand. And I had this 3D printed gun from a different figure. This is actually from Printformers, but I cut the handle down, and then I put this little tab here so that he can hold that gun, because I wanted him to be able to use it. All right, there you go. There's the gun and sword. Looks pretty good. Again, this is a custom 3D printed and then painted gun. You can probably get other guns that are better, but this was good enough for me. And yeah, that's basically it. That's all I needed to do to get to here. I am not a customizer. This is my first custom. So you could tell, there's some little mistakes here and there. Like you can see here, I've got a little bit of overspray, right? I sprayed too much paint, and then it was too thick and it dried. And same back here. Luckily, it's on the back of the legs, so you don't really care that much, but you can see where I oversprayed. So you want to do thin coats. You don't want to just, spray on really thick. The front I did pretty good for my first time ever. Not too bad. The gunmetal looks pretty good. I actually ran out of paint. I used the entire spray can on the gunmetal. There was more gunmetal parts than there were on the red, so I have a little bit of red left, but the gunmetal I pretty much planned to use an entire can. But yeah, that's really it. Let's go over his articulation. The head is on a ball joint. Goes up to there, down to there, side to side, and rotates. Shoulders are on this ratchet joint. They go up and down. And then it's on this friction joint here. You can rotate it. If you want a different look, you could have this shoulder. I asked some friends what they thought was better, this or this, and they said this one. So that's how I'm showing it to you. But you could do it either way with this figure. Let's take the gun out of here. You have a rotation at the elbow on a ratchet. Single jointed elbow gets you 90 degrees. If you can reconfigure this arm, actually. If you had this facing this way, you have a double jointed elbow. I didn't do that just because I thought it looked better from this end, but that's another customization you could probably do. The hands just open and close. There's nothing really special about the hands. They don't even rotate. They're very, very chuggish hands. Coming down the waist, we have a waist rotation on a ratchet. The back here, these just sit back. I decided not to remove these because they cover up some of the gaps here. And it kind of looks like his backpack. You do have a hip skirt back here that goes up and down. That'll move out of the way for the legs. There's hip skirts up here. These are really tight because they're die cast, but the legs will go up to there on a ratchet, all the way back to there, up to the side on friction. This friction joint is a little loose, so I did have to tighten it. Rotation at the thigh around the universal. 90-degree bend at the knee gets you there. Ankle tilts out to the side. You have this panel here that covers down on the foot, so you can cover up some of that ugly, inner workings there. You have back and forth on the foot as well. And for a quick size comparison, there it is next to a Legend Scale New Age Optimus Prime and the Magic Square Optimus Prime. And obviously too small for a Masterpiece collection. Now me personally, I am going to put it in the Masterpiece collection just because he's about the same size as an MP figure. But Broadside was a very big character just because he turned into an aircraft carrier, so probably more appropriate with a Legends collection. But either way, I think it looks good. So final thoughts on my custom G1 Broadside. And I'm not going to do a score on this one. This is an art piece, and it's made by me, so I'm not going to score myself. But I'm pretty happy with how this came out. The paint definitely makes a huge difference. The choice of paint. I prefer a metallic look here for this guy, but you could also do it in flat colors. Shout out to Adrian S for helping me pick the right colors here. And I think if I were to change anything on this guy, there'd be a couple things. One is I'd probably put a clear coat on just to protect the paint. Like I said, I'm not planning to transform it, but it's always a good idea to protect your investment. If you put in all the work to paint it, might as well protect the paint. And the other thing I would change is this sword is just not great. It's okay from the one angle, but overall it's just kind of meh. And then this side, it's just really waffly. So it's okay. I don't love it. Now, I did find that the sword from Optus Pexis, the Mastermind Creations, it actually happens to fit perfectly in his hand. So I might just display him like this. I think this was an IDW thing. He had an axe. I don't think he had an axe in the G1 cartoon. But either way, I'd probably change that out. The other thing I'd do is maybe give him some wings. So that was a recommendation from somebody was, hey, he doesn't have the wings from the cartoon. And I might take this piece here and adapt it to have it back here, paint it white and red, white, and blue to have it have that look from the cartoon. But that's kind of an afterthought. This was sort of minimal construction work on my part to get it to this place. So pretty happy with how it turned out. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. We'll see you next time.